What's going on, everybody? Martha Cross 316 back with another comic book flashback. Today we are looking at the Fantastic Four issue number 7. This issue came out in October of 1962, and we are going to be looking at a pretty awesome story here. It's something different. It's something that we don't usually see in the Fantastic Four issues as we've seen so far. Remember last issue we saw the Fantastic Four go up against Doctor Doom and the Submariner, but this time we're looking at a space story. We have all of the Fantastic Four involved, and it looks like we have a bunch of people, pretty much the citizens of America, hating the Fantastic Four. So what's this all about? We'll find all this out as we look at this great story. There's 5 parts to this story. So let's go ahead and get started. As always, this is brought to you by Stan the Man Lee, who wrote this issue. We have Jack Kirby doing the artwork, King Kirby. And so the title of this issue is The Fantastic Four and Prisoners of Kurgo, Master of Planet X. And so this guy right here, he makes his first appearance in this issue. Kurgo, he is the master of this planet called Planet X. And what we find out in this issue is that there is a runaway asteroid, or what he calls a planet, and later on in this issue. But it's really an asteroid, and this asteroid is hurtling towards Planet X. And so he's trying to come up with a solution as to how he will be able to survive, him and his people. Because what we learn here in the story is that Kurgo and the people of Planet X have very advanced technology, more advanced than Earth's technology, but yet they only have 2 rockets. They only have 2 ships that will be able to carry people to another planet. But they don't have enough time as this big asteroid is headed towards Planet X. So what Kurgo does here is we've come to find out that he sends his robot here to Earth to capture the Fantastic Four, because he's been studying Earth for some time and he knows that Reed Richards is brilliant, as we have seen in these last few issues, just how brilliant Mr. Fantastic Mr. Fantastic is to the Fantastic Four. He is a scientist, as we know. And so we catch up with the Fantastic Four here, and they've been invited to Washington for a dinner, and just this whole dinner thing is going to be for their honor. And so all 3 members, not including Mr. Fantastic, are kind of skeptical about this dinner, especially Sue Storms. We see the Thing and Johnny Storms. They all really don't want to go to this dinner because they're afraid that bad things will happen to them when they go to this dinner. They don't want to be embarrassed by each other. Thing, he might lose his temper and start tearing things up. We have, the Invisible Girl here, she might disappear because she gets nervous. A lot of things, just a lot of speculations, but Reed Richards is more optimistic about this. And so he says, look guys, let's just go ahead and go to this party, this dinner, because we've been invited and we should feel honored. I mean, we have pretty much saved the world in the past. We've fought supervillains, and we know at this point how popular the Fantastic Four are. And so we see here Johnny Storms goes and he's going to start getting ready. He goes, takes a shower. Then the Thing turns on the switch here and allows a bunch of steam to come on. So we know how the Thing and the Human Torch have not gotten along in the past, but the Thing here this entire time is just trying to start a ruckus so that he won't have to go to that blamed dinner. But as we see, Mr. Fantastic is not having any of it, and he's going to go to this party whether they like it or not. And so what we see here is we see that ship coming, and we see that people here from the U.S. are noticing that there's a unfamiliar UFO coming towards Earth satellites, and we don't know exactly what this ship is doing here. We see that the Fantastic Four have gotten ready. I thought they would have at least gotten into different outfits or attire here, but they're going in their Fantastic Four suits here. And so, as we see here, that we see that there's a missile. That's what the thing says here, but that's not a missile. That is actually the robot flying that, as we see here, that pretty much spaceship here, and he's going after the Fantastic Four here, and he's searching. He has this satellite here that will allow him to scan the area to locate the Fantastic Four. The Fantastic Four make it to Washington, and now we're on part two. It looks like this dinner is actually not as bad as they thought it would go, and they're awarded this trophy just as a symbol of gratitude to your fellow countrymen. And here comes that robot that was sent by Corgo. The robot now is going to allow this radar to come across the entire land of the U.S., causing people to just lose their minds pretty much, as we see here, that people start to just panic. They start to act out in outlandish behavior here. And this happens at the dinner as well. So now the Fantastic Four are running for their lives because they have pretty much a mob after them. This mob is trying to basically kill the Fantastic Four. So all of a sudden, mayhem is just going on all over the place. We see that Fantastic Four are going to get back into their fantastic car, and they're trying just to escape this big mob that's after the Fantastic Four. And they're like, what's going on? Why are the people after us? Why are they trying to attack us? Then they come across this spaceship, and Mr. Fantastic, being the genius that he is, he's like, you know what? This spaceship has to be involved with why the people are acting this way. So he tells everybody to buckle up, and they're going to try to outrace this spaceship, but they just can't do it. So the Fantastic Four here, they land their fantastic car, and here comes this giant robot telling them that they need to come with him because he is sending a message from Kurgo, from the master of Planet X. So now we're on part 3, bound for Planet X. We see here that the robot here shows the Fantastic Four exactly what will happen if they do not leave pretty much Earth, because we see here that the Fantastic Four want to leave the country, but this robot here, as we see, will show exactly what will happen if the Fantastic Four decide to leave America and go to another country. They will be hounded by anyone, and they'll be held prisoner, and that's just exactly what the Fantastic Four don't want. So they have pretty much no choice. They have to go with this robot, and they're pretty much skeptical about it, but they have no choice. They follow the robot into their spaceship, and they take off. And so as the hours go by, they look out and they look at just how beautiful outer space is, but they're also thinking, what in the world have we gotten ourselves into now, as we're headed to this unfamiliar planet called Planet X. So we see here that the Fantastic Four in part 4 finally arrived at Planet X, and they're going to meet Kurgo, the master of Planet X. And upon arrival, they see how this very advanced technological planet has anti-gravity. They developed anti-gravity here, and this is something that the Earth has not been able to develop. But we see here that Kurgo tells the Fantastic Four exactly what's been going on. We see that the coastlands and the tides grow uncontrollably high, that there's upheavals, volcanoes, eruptions, that there's riots, people are destroying each other. So it's pretty much an end of the world type scenario here. And then most importantly, Kurgo shows the Fantastic Four that there is a planet, or as we saw earlier in this issue, this asteroid headed towards the planet, and the Fantastic Four have 24 hours pretty much to save 5 billion inhabitants of this world. And so we see here that if the Fantastic Four do not come up with a plan to save the people of Planet X, the Fantastic Four will die along with these 5 billion people. And so we see here that the thing is like, you know what, you need to take us back on that ship and take us back to Earth, but this robot only obeys orders to Kurgo. So the thing here tries to start a fight with this robot, and we see that the Human Torch gets involved. We see that the Invisible Girl also gets involved, but no one can stop this robot. And so they just cease the fighting here, and they're going to have to come up with a plan as to how they will save Planet X with all these 5 billion inhabitants. And so we see here that Reed Richards is brought to this advanced laboratory here where he's going to have to spend the remainder of 24 hours or to be able to save Planet X. So now we get to the final part here, and we see here that Mr. Fantastic finally comes up with a plan here as to save Planet X. And so what he comes up with is a reducing gas gun. And so what he does here is he explains here, as he tested on these two people, that this reducing gas will be able to save the 5 billion people, as we see here with his two test subjects, that if the entire planet is encased by this reducing gas, then they will be able to get into the spaceship and go to another planet. And so that's exactly what happens here. And so Kurgo allows the Fantastic Four to get in the second ship to go back to Earth, while the inhabitants of this planet escape into that ship here. And so here we go. We see the Fantastic Four are able to escape while this big asteroid is headed to Planet X. And we see here that these people are now boarding into this second rocket ship here. But then we see that Kurgo here decides that he's going to use the enlarging gas, because there's also an enlarging gas. He's going to keep it and only use it for himself so that he can rule the inhabitants of Planet X. But while he's wasting time thinking about it, the ship launches into space and Kurgo is left behind. And so Kurgo pretty much dies with the planet, ironically here. And we see here that Mr. Fantastic tells Sue Storm here that that really wasn't reducing gas, but it was actually just a ploy to help the Fantastic Four escape mere destruction. But as we saw, that the people of Planet X were able to escape through that one rocket ship. That in reality, there was enough space within one ship to allow 5 billion people to fly off into space. And so that's how we end this pretty strange story. I thought it was pretty unique. I hope you liked it. And then next time we're going to look at issue number 8. I hope to see you next time. And until next time, keep reading comics.